spot. On October 23, 2017, 3 young men were expelled from a city bus after antagonizing an anomalous entity colloquially referred to as Doll-Faced David. This entity is known to ride the number 14 bus on rainy nights and will not directly interact with other riders unless attention is drawn to the plastic mask it wears over its own face. However, after 3 young men taunted and berated the entity, they found themselves radically disturbed on physical and psychic levels in ways medical doctors are still struggling to comprehend. Then they were kicked off the bus and forced to walk home. Vancouver is known to be populated by a plethora of unusual entities. Some are capable of masquerading as human beings, while others remain conspicuously inhuman, no matter how they might attempt to disguise themselves. The entity known as Doll-Faced David is clearly not human. But it's said that your mind will convince you that that's a possibility, because the other option is far more horrible. The other option is that something tried and failed to look human, and is now riding the bus with you. When faced with such a terrifying possibility, you'll do anything to keep from accepting the truth. You ever had any specific encounters with paranormals in the east side?
There was this one part where this real fucking sketchy dude appeared out of nowhere. It even gave me and my partner's kid really bad vibes, and
we didn't
see where they came from. We all of a sudden turned my head, and on the swing between me and where my kid is playing, there's this super pale dude who just did not look okay.
He tried smiling at us.
It was just real bad vibes, and then he looked at and came over to us and was like, I think I'm done at the park, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then as we were walking away, I turned around again to see him, and he was gone. Evaporated or some shit.
I don't fucking know. Yeah, no, that I don't know if that's paranormal or pedophilia, but fucking it is bad vibes.
As a member of the Greater Vancouver Transportation Authority team, you are providing your community with a service that will aid in their daily lives. However, there will be times when certain anomalous passengers may manifest onto your bus. Do your best to ignore these manifestations. Treat them as part of the general environment of the neighborhood in which you are driving. It is not recommended that you interact or engage with these anomalous passengers in any way. This is for your own safety and that of the GVTA's equipment. Avoid emotional responses to unexpected stimuli. The ability to remain calm and unaffected during times of stress is one of the most useful tools in a driver's kit.
Subject, Doll-Faced David.
Doll-Faced David. Date October 23rd, 2017.
1. Introduction. Where the story starts.
Riders on the southbound number 14 bus have been known to encounter the entity referred to colloquially as Doll-Faced David. Doll-Faced David can be primarily found in the rear of the bus, occupying anywhere from 1 to 3 seats, depending on how many other passengers are on board. He is described as a large humanoid figure with a rotund central body in the shape of an inverted egg, possessing deceptively thin and lengthy limbs, and an oddly small and misshapen head. His face is hidden behind a slim plastic mask, detailed to somewhat resemble the simplistic face one might see on a doll designed for a young child. While witnesses have stated that the entity is unpleasant to behold, it's also believed to be entirely harmless, so long as attention is not drawn to its facial covering.
2. Appearance and, structure.
The placement of the head upon the torso presents many questions about the entity's internal anatomy, with the undersized cranium protruding from the topmost section of the front of the corpulent midsection, unlike a regular human head, which resides atop the shoulders. The head itself is described as a mass of darkened scars, which appear to cascade out from the rear of the skull, disappearing beneath the mask. Witness reports as well as transit security footage both confirm this description. The entity's plastic mask bears an impression of a cartoon face, hauntingly simplistic, with vague detailing around the eyes, presumably meant to give a suggestion of happiness, and a lopsided smile stretched across the mask's bottom half.
3. Origin. Also where the story starts.
Despite its overall humanoid structure, the entity referred to as Doll-Faced David clearly has no biological connection to the species of Homo sapien, and is presumably of extra-dimensional origin. With its thick torso and long, spindly limbs, there is certainly an arachnid cast to the creature's design. It likely weighs between 300 and 400 pounds, and if it were to leave the confines of the bus, it could stand in excess of 3 meters tall, with legs fully extended, fitting its body within the seats of the bus only by folding those elongated protuberances in on itself in a fashion which appears overtly uncomfortable. Where is it from? Where does it go? These are not the questions a sane, rational mind asks in the presence of such an entity. A sane, rational mind asks questions like, where are the exits on the bus? And how quickly can I travel through those exits and away from here? It is only later, when the sickened mind has time to ruminate, that unhealthy wonderings will begin to trouble the psyches of those who encounter the entity. Where did it get that mask? And why do we call it David? These are not the questions of sane, rational people. These are the questions of aberrant minds brought into contact with abhorrent beings. Rides the number 14 bus on quiet nights. If you sit near it and make no noise, you may hear it mumbling under the cracked plastic shell it wears over its face. If you ride with it for a while, it will tell you one of its stories.
"3B. One of the stories it tells."
Please note, this is not a recording, but a digitized approximation of the creature's voice based on witness recollections.
Billy used to smoke a lot of meth. He stopped eventually. but he said it opened up his third eye and gave him psychic powers. Billy once lost an argument with a seagull. In the end, he looked like a real fool. One night, Billy went out to find the ghost train set to run from Parkcrest to the Dunbar Southlands. He said he was going to ride it, just to prove to everybody that it was real, and that he could. He caught the train, Billy did. But the ghost train wasn't for people, even rattly old skeleton people like Billy. It was a train for ghosts. And when Billy tried to climb atop it, those ghosts reached out and got their fingers into him. Pulled out his soul. He lived through it, because of course, you can live through having your soul removed. Lots of people have their souls removed, multiple times, if the annoying things grow back again, like an ingrown toenail of morality and grief. Lots of people walk around with no souls, looking for whatever they can find that might fill the space where it used to be. Billy wanted to understand big truths, big real things, the whole universe. But he didn't understand. Some truths don't want to be known. And some nights you might be better off under some overhang, smoking cheap meth through a long plastic tube and a thin glass pipe, rather than climbing up along the side of some phantasmal conveyance full of passengers who are all lost and hungry for the little drop of spiritual essence that grows up out of the heart of every person. Billy is a big boy, but he doesn't laugh or cry anymore. And on real nice days, he don't cast a shadow on the ground. He just sits by windows and waits for the sky to crack open, and for something new to pour through in this sadly broken universe. Some great tide of absolution that will sweep away this wicked world and drown its palace of sorrows. Or so he says, if you listen to what he has to say.
4. If you talk about the mask.
Drawing attention to doll-faced David's cranial covering leads to bizarre physical altercations and will ultimately result in the onset of negatively oriented internalized nihilism, a sort of personalized metaphysical decay. Many of those who have seen the face beneath the mask report similar symptoms. Over several days, colors become less saturated, the world gradually fading to a neutral gray. They stop dreaming. They still sleep, but they do not dream. Or if they do, it is only of darkness, of a void, of a nothingness so persistent it nearly possesses solid mass. Victims will also experience their physical forms being contorted, reformed, and otherwise mutilated or mangled through methods which can be difficult to fully fathom, though many of these transitions are more easily comprehended by those who have undergone cerebral mutations.
Cerebral mutations. 5.
The face beneath the mask.
If doll-faced David is mocked or teased about his mask, he will likely show the offending party his true visage, the one residing beneath the slim plastic shell of a face. Researchers have suggested that what's beneath the mask may most comfortably fit into the classification of so-called glitch anatomy, wherein a physical body experiences coding degradation on subatomic levels, often in a fashion which defies description and human understanding.
Six. Incident report.
On October 23, 2017, at approximately 11:23 p.m., 3 young men, 19, 20, 22 in age, were believed to have approached doll-faced David. Witness accounts indicate the young men smelled of cheap beer and cannabis and were described as rowdy and clearly looking for trouble. Exactly what the youth said to the entity is unknown, but it has been suggested that they spoke in an aggressively comedic fashion, attempting to get a response from the entity. Security footage suggests that it was the smallest of the youths who pulled a knife, a fact several witnesses confirmed, with one individual even recounting the sharp, echoing sound the metal knife point made when the weapon was tapped against the thin plastic shell of the mask worn by the entity.
Yellow.
I'm scared.
What followed was described by one witness as a massive computer error, but in real life. Accounts from spectators outside of the bus reported the windows becoming opaque, the glass somehow shunting, that was the word used, from translucently clear to a sharp sky blue, dotted with random squares of pixelated static.
It was as if the insides of the bus were a file that couldn't be read, like its data had been corrupted and couldn't load,
said Reverend Hugo Sands, a local used Bible salesman who was present for the bizarre occurrence. Even witnesses located on the bus failed to explain to authorities exactly what transpired on that bus. There was a lot of screaming. That much has been established through local records of the evening. At 11:32, the 3 perpetrators found themselves ejected from the bus, though it has not been established exactly what force had removed them from the public transit device. Soon after the incident, the 3 young men complained of oppressive headaches and odd visual impairments, such as the inability to see specific colors and a tendency to mistake dead meats for the living creatures the meats had been previously. Along with those symptoms, they all reported experiencing a sort of spiritual malaise and a lack of an ability to feel any sense of joy or optimism for life. It was as if, one of them stated in a prolonged police report, which was eventually adapted into an unpopular podcast, they had experienced something so profound and immense that it blotted out all other awarenesses, yet left them equally incapable of comprehending the immensity itself. Several medical and optical experts have since confirmed that the youths each had their individual eyeballs switched, with the eyeballs which were formerly of the right sockets now in the left and vice versa. How this was achieved, without leaving any evidence of surgery or any overt tissue damage whatsoever, is still unknown. While they are still free to roam about the city, it has been said by some, including Rudy Rasputin, the mad poet of 9th Street, that the aging youths are now trapped within prisons that have been erected around their very souls, unable to appreciate the simple pleasures of life, and plagued by a brutalist form of psychic depression.
Seven. Conclusions.
Doll-faced David is an important aspect of Vancouver's paranormal backdrop. I mean, he's not important, but he's prominent if you ride the number 14 bus late at night. Otherwise, you could live in this city your whole life and never see him once. I have seen him once. That was enough for me. I thought I might press my luck, see if I could get a glimpse of whatever was under that mask. But when I saw him there, his massive, hunched form, barely constraining itself within the bus seat, that oddly childlike, high-pitched voice rasping out from under his thin plastic shell of a face. I decided that just seeing him was good enough.
I didn't need to look any further.